We are basically officially the halfway point of the 2024 season. There are a number of Sharks players who are off contract and are able to negotiate with clubs right now. For all we know, they could be looking at a contract in their hands for another club. They could be looking at a contract from the Sharks. They could be looking to go overseas. We don't know, but they are able to do any of these things as it stands with them being off contract. So to start, we have Billy Burns. Now, Billy Burns came to us from the Dragons as a depth squad player. He has done pretty good for us as a depth player. I feel as though, in New South Wales Cup, he's been solid. He did get two NRL appearances. One was unfortunately the West Tigers loss, but the other one was the come from behind 18-0 down Raiders game. So he's done pretty well for us as a depth player. Everyone can't be superstars. He's probably not on a lot of coin, doing a job for us. What do you think, Lats?
Yeah, mate, I like Billy. He's good there to have there in depth. We got him on a minimum wage contract, so he's on barely any dollars. I don't know if he'll be happy just ticking along in that New South Wales Cup role, filling in a game or two a season. I'd happily keep him. I don't know how we go with him and Calhoun, and we seem to be pretty congested in the in those sort of edge forwards and whatnot. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him stay.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think these depth players are needed. You never know; they might come on strong. And also, I think you'll find that ignoring the fact that he's only been 2 NRL matches with us. He had 5 NRL matches, I think, with the Dragons last year. He's been around the traps for a few years before then. He's 25. He's mature. He's probably a good person to have around the squad. So I think we'll lock him in if able. Ryan himself comes in and says keep Burns as a depth if he's on minimum wage. So I think we agree there. All right, next.
You look there too. He was almost going to be used when we lost. So it was Colquhoun long-term, Teig with his injury. That really leaves Talakai and Nikora, and then Nikoro's copped a few suspensions and the like. So it wouldn't have surprised me if Burns suddenly catapulted his way almost into the starting lineup. Definitely past the bench. So definitely keep.
Yep. Max Bradbury is a development player. You might remember that we got him from Newcastle Knights in a trade deal for Lockie Miller. So that's how Max came to us. He is still eligible for Jersey Flag and has been playing up in New South Wales Cup this season. Sort of both comps, but mainly New South Wales Cup. The stats you can see there, I have taken from the preseason cup match that he played because the New South Wales Cup stats are lacking. So where able, that's where I've grabbed those stats for people that haven't had an NRL game. He's doing well for someone who is still young, but again, development player, probably a project for Fitz that they must have seen something to get him into the swap deal with Lockie, and by all reports, a bunch of Newcastle Knights fans were a bit dirty that they lost him. I don't think he has hit the straps that we were expecting to see, but he's certainly solid, certainly doing a job. And these sorts of players, if you've seen something in them, it's worth giving them a go and seeing how far they can take their career. Williams, thoughts?
So being a 20-year-old prop, that's very, very young in that regard. So I think if he's shown enough and he's playing up in New South Wales Cup rather than sticking to flag, and that he had that potential at the Knights. I remember hearing from them or that the rumblings that they weren't happy that they'd lost him as part of the deal. So keep him, I believe. Obviously, I don't know how much interest there is. So if we can keep him on as minimum wage as possible, but keep him on those lower tier contracts until things start to show a bit more potential, then that's a win for us and maybe him.
Development contract, I believe, is less than minimum tier. Obviously, it's different situations for what you can do as far as, playing first grade and whatnot.
Yeah.
So certainly not expensive, certainly a project player. And if he wants to hang around, I think we should look at hanging on to him. All right, next, Mawene Hiroti. Now, you will may be surprised, is actually on a development contract himself. So he went from being a top 30 player down to a development player this year, which personally I feel is a little bit of a kick in the pants. I think he's probably a better player than that. He's got enough experience. If you look at the positional capability there, he's listed on the website as a center, but if you go through his games this year, he's played center, fullback, wing, 5'8". He's goal kicking there. You can see he's nearly 90% goal kicker for the Jets. His one and only game for us last year, filling in for Mulitalo, I believe, against South. Yeah, he absolutely nailed it. He would have got it 1, 2, or 3 points from some pundits. I think he did really well. And, if he's willing to hang around on the development contract, it just shows that he likes the club and is willing to hang around and do what he can for the Sharks. Kelly, what are your thoughts on Hiroti?
As much as I like to do this, I'm going to flip the script and kick it back to Latz, and I'll take the next one because we all know this is Latz's favourite player. So kick it off.
Damn
Latz.
you, Kelly. Look, I was a massive skeptic of Marwene's from what I saw from him early on in his Sharks career. He did, however, win me over in that South game. He showed his NRL potential and would not look out of place there. His goal kicking's been immense for the Jets this year. He's scoring plenty of tries too, might I add. And yeah, I think he's the reason Jets have won a lot of their games due to his goal kicking. He's slotting them from everywhere. And yeah, you've heard it here first. I would like to see him stay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ryan comes in and says similar. Hiroti gets a bad rap. He's a solid backup and does his job when called up. I think it's one of those ones that, yeah, I think people would have been surprised to hear, people that maybe don't pay close enough attention to these sorts of things, that he's on a development contract. So anyone that gives him a hard time for being part of the Sharks should probably take a bit of a look at that and think about what he's doing for the club. Next up,
it was only our former coach used to select him anyway, Franco. So.
Well, you got to get games somehow. Niwhai Puru. Okay, now he is a playmaker that came to us from the Panthers. Obviously, we know the Panthers have a great junior system, a great pathways program, but are quite clogged, especially in the playmaking area with Cleary and at the time Youy locked in long term. So Puru came across to the Sharks. He has been with us for a couple of years now, mainly or only playing his applying his try in New South Wales Cup. Probably not as dominant as he has been through the juniors, whether that's confidence thing or, different players around him, different systems. Not quite sure why he hasn't hit those same highs that he has at the Panthers, but he's certainly giving it a good go. He's certainly trying hard and not shirking away from responsibility. Kelly, any thoughts on Puru?
Yeah, I really like Puru. I watched him in the preseason cup games, and he was pretty solid, quite nippy, quite fast. I obviously thought he was the next man up in case we had a problem in the halves, and I was quite happy with that. But obviously, Atkinson's now left him in that sort of department. We obviously had Franco's favourite player in there, Metcalf, but we're seeing the injuries he's going through. So I've got to try and start watching a few more Jets games to see how he's going, because I know from your reports, Franco, like you said, he's been a bit gun-shy lately, but I quite liked him in those pre-season games. And I think if you've seen the injury toll the NRL's going through, there's no halfbacks just floating around out there. It's probably the lowest rank positional play in the NRL at the moment, and also developmental. So at 22, I'm willing to give him quite a bit of a shot and let him, kick on. I'm hoping towards the back end, maybe you might see him get a start, given where our positional place is on the ladder. You might see him the last round or two, and Hopefully get a first grade crack. But yeah, happy to keep him. Sorry, Sharks fans. I know we're going to be probably saying we're going to keep everyone. I know we said this at the start, but it's just someone I think, like you said, he came out of the Panthers system. He's only 22. He's a halfback. It's no one you just sort of shirk out. It's the last thing I'd like to see is an injury and go, where do we get one from next? And I did bring that up at the start of the season, but if he's in our system, then happy days.
Yep. Yeah, those keeping score at home, we are keeping everyone so far. So we'll see what happens here.
We're lovers, not fighters.
Siteni Taukamo. Now, he's a young junior. He is actually in our top 30 squad, but still only a flag player. Those appearances there for the World Cup, he played for Greece and scored Greece's first ever try. So he is a wing centre, although he is lining up for flag in fullback position this week, I believe. So obviously there's some big raps on him within the club. There's, one eye onto him, especially since he's in the top 30 squad. And I would say that, with short of repositioning people, our depth in fullback is a little bit shy. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he certainly got a close eye on him as well. There's probably not much any of us have to say on him unless you're close watchers of flag. But he is certainly, I imagine, probably one of those ones that had a multi-ratcheted clause in his contract that over time would bump up from development into top 30. As it stands now, we've probably got a scenario of see how he goes this year. There probably wouldn't be too many clubs looking for his signature and see where both parties lie at the end of the year and look to keep everyone happy or have another young kid that's coming through doing better, I suppose. Watch this space, I would say, for young Taukamo. Anyone got any opinions on him?
None from me.
Put him down as a maybe, an amber.
Maybe,
good try in the World Cup.
Yeah. Off paired up with Billy Magoulias for Greece, I believe.
Yeah.
Jayden Berrell. Now, Jayden Berrell came to us from Queensland Cup. He is a Queensland Cup Player of the Year, similar to Toby Rudolph. Played his trade up there. Late bloomer, came down to us. Obviously, we know we're short on hooking depth, but I would say that he has probably been leapfrogged by young Healy. Now, I couldn't find Healy's contract details. He's probably a development player. Maybe someone in the comments can let us know what the status is there. I know his profile is on the Sharks website, but certainly no contract details that I could find. So as it stands, Berrell would certainly be next man up if something were to go wrong with Brayley. But I do believe from a development point of view, young Healy is probably ahead of him with an eye to the future. Now, that said, he is, and I hate the term, but he is certainly a club man. He does everything right around the training group. All the other players seem to like him from interviews and reports that I've read. And, talking about young Healy, apparently he's mentoring him quite well and showing him tricks of the trade and going through the various things that he needs to learn to become a top flight footballer. I will note there, unfairly, it says 0 tries there in New South Wales Cup. I was a bit surprised by that stat. He is known for a dart and to score little sneaky tries here and there. I was sure he scored some tries this season, but our friends at Rugby League Project don't have any listed. And short of going through every individual game results myself, I was going to say I trust the guys, but I do think he has some tallies there. But normally a try scorer. Got any thoughts on this one, Williams?
Yeah, interesting one. He came to the club. He was managed by Matt Rogers, actually, so that was part of the I think part of the reason why he came down here. As you're right, Queensland Cup Player of the Year as Brayley's understudy. We haven't needed to use him, I suppose. You're right. He played those preseason matches, looked all right there, looked capable, and I think at other clubs would have had his time in first grade by now. So good on him for sticking around and not or I don't know what other interest out there would have been, unlike Iro and players like that. I suppose you would keep him a bit longer as long as he wasn't holding up someone like Healy, given that he's 29. It depends what other interests there are around him. I don't know how many other clubs are. It seems to be a lot of up and coming hookers coming through. So I suppose if he wants to stay, we keep him. That's all I've got to add there, really.
Having Brayley get the Iron Man of Iron Steel Boot Award the last 3 years in a row of not missing a game.
Touch wood.
Touch wood, correct. So that doesn't help if you're the stand-in replacement. But he's like I said, he's doing his job and plying his trade in New South Wales Cup, available when needed, and certainly not complaining about it. So yeah, probably you're right, Williams. If he's not blocking anyone, he's probably good to hang around and see how he goes. Next up, we have a big one. This will get fans talking. Kayal Iro. Now, Kayal Iro has been in the squad for a while now. He has certainly bid his time. He has been potentially shopped around before getting his shot. Now that he's got his shot, I think he has sort of said he loves the Sharks and would like to hang around. That said, obviously, I think game time dependent now that he has proven himself as a first grader. It certainly wouldn't be surprising if his manager is shopping him around to other clubs to try and get a deal, even if he was wanting to stay at the Sharks, to make sure he gets the most value for his player. That said, he's certainly proven that he is fit for first grade. There were a few naysayers before he got that shot, but he has come in and held his own. Kelly, thoughts?
100%, yes. It's a must re-sign. I know there'll be a lot of clubs sniffing around because he's such a high-quality player. Big raps, and a whole reason why we're probably sitting, not a whole reason, but a good reason why we're sitting so high up the ladder. He's slotted into a highly contested spot in a centre position over a bloke that, although only played one game of Origin, was selected for Origin and knocked him out of the spot, whether it was through positional change, coach's decision or not. Iro is that guy, needs to be re-signed. I hope it doesn't cost us too much. Although if a club comes knocking, I can see him go somewhere else. But I think given that he can see which direction the club's going into and given his start, you hope that loyalty gets repaid in some sort of way. So 100% for me.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Hopefully, there's talk in 2022 around signing the back five we had at the time, with most of them being off contract, and they all took little cuts here and there to keep the team together. So I know his agent will be doing the best thing for Iro and himself in the cut, or herself in the cut that they get. But hopefully they see the greater good of the team too, if they're going to keep everyone together, and that he's re-signed not at the expense of anyone else in the starting lineup, or someone like a Stonestreet or something like that. I think that obviously he's played a lot more than I thought he would, and hopefully we can keep him around.
Yeah, I'll throw a cat in the hen house here on this one. Like you said there, Williams, depending on the log jam, we do have a lot of players coming through in the outside backs through the juniors. So it is certainly a congested sort of position, ignoring the Talakai factor. Obviously, you've just got to look at the run meters there. The average run meters of 167 run meters per game. We know he's been doing that at New South Wales Cup consistently. He's been absolutely killing it at that grade. He is too good for New South Wales Cup. There's no denying that, and there's no denying that he is an NRL player with a long future ahead of him. Certainly needs to develop, though, in terms of his attack there. 1 try, 3 try assists, 2 line break assists. We have seen Ronnie's try scoring potential dry up since Iro sort of moved out there. Is a little bit of a concern for me. I do think he will get it. He will learn it. But at this stage, those average run meters that everyone is lauding is coming at the expense of setting up his outside men, because he is tucking that ball under his arm and hitting the line hard, run first mentality. That said, he's certainly a first grader. I think we're going to need to look at him. There's going to be an interesting one. Ryan comes through with a message here saying Iro is a must at the right price. And I think that's probably what it's going to come down to, similar to what Williams alluded to there, with the other players in the back five sort of taking their cuts to keep the team together.
Yeah, we definitely haven't lost anything from him at the back coming out of our own half. He's constantly going looking for work. I was deeply concerned when Fitzy wasn't giving him a start at the latter end of last year, and he showed us what he could do in the World Cup. Love having him in the team. I think the guys love having him in the team, and hopefully repays that loyalty that Fitzy showed in him this year.
Yeah.
It's also funny, Franco. Like you spoke on, he's only got one try, and his stats are there. He's actually, he's been in my Supercoach team, but he's actually hotly contested in Supercoach because of those kind of stats, those runs out of the deep end, that grunt sort of stuff. He takes away from Ronnie sort of doing it and having those handling errors. And also, I think we've changed our attack a little bit where you're not seeing us go to Ronnie as much. You're seeing your Teig Wilton short balls a lot more than I brought it up before. Teig's seen a lot more than Nikora is as well. So maybe that's something to throw into it as well. But yeah, coming out of our own end, that's where he's strongest. It's those leg drives, it's those extra meters, it's that dirty work that he actually, for someone who looks flashy when he has the ball, he's actually better at that sort of coming out of our own end. So it's something we thought we'd lose not having Talakai in that spot and doing that stuff. But for a young bloke, he's doing that kind of thing. So get him.
Yep. I think he's certainly one of the few players that are off contract that will be fielding offers from other clubs. So I'm sure Darren Mooney and Fitzy are talking to him and trying to work out something. But it's certainly one of the players that will have a choice as opposed to waiting around and hoping that we offer him something.
So is he off contract as of November 1st?
No, right now he is off contract right now.
Oh, right
now.
now. Okay,
right
gotcha.
now.
Yep.
So he could have, like I said, he could have a contract sitting there in front of him, ready to go.
The Roosters do have 2 holes to fill.
So, you're always looking after your first team, aren't you?
Oh, when Uncle Nick comes with a checkbook, you're in trouble. So, or a brown bag, one or the other.
Next Kyle Flanagan.
Yeah.
Jack Williams off contract. He is probably a bit of the ugly duckling, I suppose, in terms of the Sharks engine room, that he wasn't re-signed. Pretty much everyone else has been re-signed in some capacity, with Jack Williams still sitting there without a contract. Don't know if that is a scenario where maybe he has a handshake with Darren Mooney or Fitzy where he's happy with the club and they're not worried about losing him, so they don't need to offer him a contract, or if it's a sign of priority and what's to come. He is certainly a staple of the team. He's been in every game. He's a solid workhorse. Now, I haven't really put many negative stats in here. I knew people would want to know about it. His errors are 8, which, given he's played for 14 games, that's almost 1 error every 2 games. It's not as bad as everyone thinks it is. And
hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah, hasn't been for
past
a long
performances.
time. Yep. So, ignoring the bad rap he gets in terms of errors and penalties and whatnot, he's certainly a solid player. He certainly rolls up his sleeves and hits hard. We have seen him turn games, and I would say that while he has had a few flat patches, he's probably a bit of a mainstay. Lats, what do you think?
Yeah, mate. If you had have asked me a year ago, I probably would have said move him on. But he's been a lot more consistent this year. He's had much more of an impact. I can see him changing teams and going to someone who's prepared to throw a bit more money at him that will give him a starting spot, because I think he is worthy of a starting spot. I think he's got the stamina, the endurance. He's got a few little errors in his game, which he has worked on, as you alluded to earlier. But I'd like to see him stay. I think he's got to stay from what he's shown us this year.
Yeah, all right. It's going to be a tight one because, as we will see, there's a lot coming, and AFB joining the fold soon enough.
Yeah.
Anyone else got any opinions on Big Jack Williams?
I like his versatility. You know, we've got him listed as a second row there, but he comes on often to replace Cam in the middle. He's got that versatility being playing at middle or edge. And yeah, he's improved. I thought it was a 2021. I think he was a standout for us, and then had a bit of a dip the last 2 years, and he's back again this year.
Well, he has been named in the halves this year, so so he's versatile, isn't he?
That was Todd Payton back in the day, I think, and Mitch Orbison in that grand final.
There you go.
Brilliant. All right. Next. We are at off-contract players with an asterisk. So Big Tom Hazelton has a club option, so in the Sharks' favour for next year. Now, if you are to believe some online publications that have questionable sources, he has apparently, the club has taken up that club option and are negotiating to extend even further. So this one might be a little bit moot. We believe he is locked down, but obviously it's a scenario of do we trust that news source? I couldn't find any other articles or anything to corroborate that. So, if we haven't taken up that club option, I certainly think we should. What do you reckon, Lats?
God, you've got to keep Big Tommy, mate. You've got to give him what he wants. He's a cult hero. Fans will go to games to watch players like Tom Hazelton. And he has impact. I think he's better off the bench. I think he has more impact off the bench. He was found out a little bit in defence when he was starting. I don't know if he's getting a little bit tired early there with the intensity of the game early on, but you've got to keep Tommy Hazelton. You got to lock him down. He's a must.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would agree with you there, Lats. He's in good hands here if he stays, and I think we want him. So
and he can find the try line too. So
can indeed. I think this one's a bit of an open shut case. Next, another asterisk. Oregon Kaufusi. Now, Oregon Kaufusi, we have a mutual option with him. What's a mutual option? Some people might ask. Well, unlike a club option where the club gets a say, unlike a player option where the player gets a say, a mutual option means both parties need to agree. It's a bit messy, and there's not a lot of stats, data, history on how many mutual options are taken up in the NRL. However, in the US of A, where sports is certainly analyzed to the nth degree, in the NFL and in baseball, mutual options, there are stats, and it's basically nothing. There's no one takes up the mutual options. It's almost a handshake agreement that you guys will discuss the next contract, as opposed to both going, yes, we'll take it, because in very few circumstances would the playing conditions, the contract conditions match, that everyone would stay happy to just continue as is for another year. Someone will want to get something out of the next contract. So this is basically off contract, but with an option for Sharks to discuss before anyone else can discuss. In my opinion, I think he's been really good this year. He was a bit of a miss last year for me. He's been quite solid, but we did talk about Jack Williams and how he is a bit of an unknown in terms of future. I think it comes down to either Jack or Oregon Kaufusi, because I don't think we can keep both, although I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, except for 3 letters AFB. What do you reckon, Williams?
It's a tough one. I thought that he'd improve this year, and he has. He's doing a job for us, but I also think too that AFB will probably end up replacing his role in the starting lineup. So I think if you're going to keep one or the other, I think. So obviously, I didn't realize Kaufusi was so young, only 24. He will still have a long career with maybe another NRL club or the Super League, but I think he'd be the one to let go, as much as it pains me to say, given that I like him. I predicted him to go well. He was going well in the trials, and he's gone well so far. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him bounce back and be as explosive as he can be at the start. Not talking Royce Hunt explosive, but you know what I mean. Lays the platform well. But I think he might be the one that doesn't fit.
Yeah, Ryan's come through here, says Kaufusi is solid, but AFB is a massive upgrade to replace him. Happy if the club or himself don't take up the options. Now, I think if you look at that tackle efficiency of 95, he's certainly plugging up a hole. He's there in the centre, doing the hard work at the beginning of a game. I think, it's a tough one. You can't have all explosive players. You do have to have someone that sort of steadies the ship a bit. CK, you're pretty animated there. Do you have opinions on Kaufusi?
Kaufusi's our starting bookend with AFB next season. You got to remember, you spoke on Williams, sort of touched on it. He's 24. They got this weird thing where props don't mature till they're 26 to 28, and they start hitting their straps. You remember, as much as AFB's a superstar in the game as a prop, he's not exactly a spring chicken. He does come with Franco's caveat and asterisk of leaving clubs in the lurch. He's also had his breach notice this season and dropped for a one game for not hanging around post-team song. So for a bloke that's 24, tackle efficiency, he's been the sharp trajectory he's already had just this season alone, he's got to stay. Like as much as we like seeing Youy come off the bench and have those explosive moments, and you like seeing Royce Hunt come off the back fence, this guy doesn't do it, but he goes, unsung hero, tucks the ball under there, doesn't drop it that often, doesn't look for a silly offload, can score a try. He's the kind of guy you need in the team. And I think he's going to improve sharply over the next 3 years. So he's someone I'd like to keep for a long term. I honestly believe if he went to another club, we'd regret it. It's something you've got to look at where AFB's got to be 28, 29 surely by now, maybe pushing more. You don't know if he's going to see out that contract. It's someone, and I talked on it last week, it's someone you could see playing the first 15, 20 minutes and bring it on a UL or bring it on a Royce Hunt or bring it on a Tommy, and he goes back out and starts the second half again. He doesn't worry me when he's out on that field. So I think he's someone you really, really got to keep.
It's a good point, Chris.
You mentioned offload, Kelly. I think pretty sure he's our top offloader with 11 there.
Yeah. I meant not silly ones. Cuthbertson.
Yeah, not the old Cuthbertson, rack him up. Ryan had mentioned, valid point, CK, I'd prefer AFB and BHU as our starting props with a bench of Hunt, Hazelton, Williams, Talakai. Hunt, Hazelton, Williams, Talakai, I do like that bench. I think Hamlin Welly, we did sign to be the bookend with AFB, given that AFB played a role in keeping him. Hamlin Welly, he's got that whatever niggle it is that's keeping him in.
Whatever it is, guys, he's not getting starting. He's not getting Newtown Cup.
We're not getting economy out of him.
There's something going on there, whether it's something off field or it's the niggling knee from last year. It's something worrying for a big guy like that might hang around or take a bit of time. Where you got this guy who's not, he's not on $400,000. Like he was a developmental player who sort of come from Parramatta. And he's not going to cost us massive money. Like he's a strong bro.
In regards to BHU, I find it interesting that if it is an injury, why would they be playing him in the New South Wales Cup?
Yeah,
that's got to be something else to it. But I guess the club will let us know when they see the time's right. If it is something.
Ryan said hopefully that BHU will have the off-season to fix that up. I agree. I just think that BHU and Rudolph are continuing to have injury and fitness concerns where Touchwood, Oregon Kaufusi is not. He's 24. Kelly, you've twisted my arm in this one. He was signed on the potential and he was a bit of a dud last year, but this year he's really showing it. And at 24, I didn't realise how young he was. If you could keep him on what he's on now and just go, hey, mate, by the time you're going to be our starting prop in 2 years' time for the remainder of your career, hang in there. I think that would be a win for the club.
Well, he's come from Parramatta also, a club right now who are coming last on the ladder statistically, and they got their aging forwards in Pulu and RCG. I guarantee they would have liked to have this bloke still coming off the bench for him to replace one of those guys. So, we're pretty lucky to get him. Again, like you said, it was kind of like with Jack Williams, a sharp improvement, like a very sharp improvement. I had no raps on him last season at all, but I've said all season, you don't notice this guy. It's not like he's making massive breaks and he's killing blokes and he's dragging guys, but he's doing that job. And, Talis touched on it at the start of this week saying that, forwards don't get all the praises. I'll still go out and do 20 hit-ups and 30 tackles, but they don't get man of the match sort of, props anymore. So they'll just do the same job, and that's all he's doing is mistake-free football and just going out there and bending the line, and that's all we need to start.
Yeah. I think you've won me over too, CK. Starting to make for
Origin and Kaufusi. Let's go.
All right, next, another Asterix player, Royce Hunt, allowed to negotiate. So he is contracted to the Sharks for next year, 2025. Technically not off contract until November 1st, but has requested the ability to negotiate, which Sharks have allowed. That's not to say that he is now a free agent. He is still contracted. Some people seem to forget that. If he does get an offer, he does need to come back to us with giving us the opportunity to counter offer, see what we have. And if he signs at this stage, he's signing for 2026. Unless we agree to release him. So I know there's been a lot of chatter about, say, maybe going to Souths with Wayne Bennett. If they do want to try and get him early, I'm sure it would not be just a free ride. Knowing what the Sharks have done the last few with Connor Tracy and Lockie Miller, we would probably want something in return. Hunt has certainly been on everyone's lips the last few weeks. He's been on fire. Absolutely ripping and tearing and giving it his all. Don't know if it's the Lats factor of now technically being off contract and putting himself in the shop window, but it's one of those things that, I all along sort of said I would like to keep him. I do think he's got that energy. I think he's shown it when he has a long stint of health and string of games together that he does a great job for the Sharks. But just to remind people who are jumping up and down saying he is the best thing since sliced bread, people were talking about getting rid of him when he didn't survive the warm up or the warming up on the sideline before going onto the field, pulling his calf. His running meters per game have certainly increased. So 49, 33, 52, 36, then 60, 84, and 74. So certainly recency bias there, but still a wonderful, wonderful player. But we've just talked about the logjam. What's best for the club, and is Royce Hunt it? CK, thoughts?
I wish we could do a side-by-side with Kaufusi because you got Royce Hunt, who's 4 years older, and efficiency for tackles, line breaks, offloads aren't as great, but obviously hasn't had the same opportunity to start like Kaufusi. I think it is a bit of, hey, look at me, I'm coming off the back fence. I'm allowed to negotiate. I'll show you what I can do because everyone knows. But he is a crowd favourite. Everyone's loving what he's doing. He's part of this system. I think he's a bit of a domino where South comes sniffing around, but there's rumours that South are also sniffing around Jack de Belin, which may lead to Royce Hunt, Shane Flanagan come knocking for the Dragons. So, look, I don't think we'll be able to compete with the sort of prices if they're going to do it. I don't think Wayne Bennett, knowing him, he's not a sort of, here's the checkbook, come along to South, being he is 28. But, stranger things have happened. Would love to keep him if he wants to stay. But, yeah, I don't see him as a starting option, and I don't think anyone on here or any of our fans would say he's a starting option, which kind of nullifies that. But coming off the bench, he's quite effective. And I think it is a bit of that Lats factor, and like Franco said it in the shop window, hey, look at me, I'm coming off contract, I'm allowed to negotiate. It's very, like you said, American sports style, where a guy's contract's coming, he's going to set the world on fire, signs a couple of years, and then who knows? So again, like I pointed out, I wish we could side by side with him and Kaufusi, because I'll show you the stat difference in those two, and you'll go back to agreeing me with Kaufusi over Hunt. So tough one, very tough. I think it's going to be too hard for us to keep him is the problem. It's not that I don't want him. It's more the keeping him.
It's not as simple as a comparison between Kaufusi and Hunt. I agree with what you're saying, but it depends how our bench is going to be structured as well going forward, whether you have to carry or we need to carry a backline utility or use Talakai for that, or Talakai gets back into the starting lineup. And who have you got? Hunt's obviously a 20-minute prop. He's explosive at the moment. And it's fantastic. It's awesome for him. It's awesome for the team. But how sustainable is it? He's had injury concerns in the past. I wish him all the best and good health. But is it sustainable? I don't know. Also, the club's allowing him to go make hay while the sun shine. If he gets a big money offer and we can get some, as disappointing as it would be, I think at this stage of the career, the best thing for both the club and for Hunt would be to say, go earn your big money at whatever team signed you, and hopefully we can get something good in return to provide depth for us somewhere else. I don't think with AFB being that explosive player, Kaufusi probably going to be getting 40 to 50 minutes out of versus 20. Also, you got potentially Tapuha as well, playing a similar role and showing that potential of how he is. It's difficult. And Tommy Hazelton as well, maybe providing a similar role. It's hard. And Hunt is the form player at the moment. He's the form guy in our team at the moment, and it's hard when those players are potentially going to leave. But I think this might happen.
Yeah,
I think you're right with the bench maker. Oh, you go.
Ryan here is saying, hopefully Hunt does a BHU and stays for the love of the team. Unfortunately, Ryan, in that scenario, as Williams just alluded to, love of the team is one thing, but where are you going to play him? There might not be a spot for him in the team, depending on the makeup, or at least for one of these three guys in terms of Hunt, Williams, and Kaufusi.
Yeah, I think like William said, it depends on the makeup and the bench, and Latz will back me on this with the socials. It's pretty much every week is Atkinson should be 14. Like everyone's screaming for Atkinson to be 14 on our bench, which doesn't fit into the way we sort of play at the moment. But I can see where that turns into a different scenario. And, you know, like you said, Talakai's back in that starting team. We might lose Williams. You keep Talakai at 12, and then all of a sudden you need to fill a bench spot, and Atkinson's that guy, that sort of utility guy. So, you know, like we've said, all the Long Sharks fans, we're going pretty rosy. It's pretty good. Everyone's on contract, but, you know, 6 doesn't go into 4. So, it's just one of those ones.
Yeah, it's tough, but I don't think I've seen as good a depth squad at the Sharks that I can remember. It's just, it's rosy, as you said, CK. All right, now lock them up early. November 1st deadline. The next batch of players will be off contract come November 1st. Do we run the gauntlet and let them come off contract and sign them later, or do we try and lock them up now and see what we can get out of them? First up is young Kade Dykes. So obviously we all know the story about Kade Dykes. He was certainly headhunted by Bennett and Gould at the Dolphins and Bulldogs respectively before he'd played a single first grade game. He is lightning quick, really good at fullback, soft silky hands, apparently pretty handy in the halves. But unfortunately, as we've seen over the last couple of years, is a little bit injury prone and hasn't had many opportunities to show his wares. I don't know about you guys. I would like to keep him, but I'm honestly just saying this based on potential. There's really nothing there that we can tangentially put our finger on and say that's why we need to keep him. Thoughts, Lats?
Yeah, mate. It's a tough one. We expected so much out of him, and we were so excited to see what he could do. Got a couple little runs in first grade there, and then did the dreaded ACL. I think lock him up early before he shows too much potential, and we can get him a bit cheaper and make him lock in. We know he is capable. I'd just love to see him have a good run without injury. Does anyone know what's going on with him at the moment?
Yeah, he's not named this week, so he's still out, injured.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, he is
Which
very injury
is-
prone, and he's only a
he's
small
doing
frame
now.
too, isn't he?
He's pretty tall, actually. I think, you'll be surprised. He's sort of similar build as Kennedy, but maybe not as bulky.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, look, we've already put so much into him, haven't we, in his development? And I'd like to see that continue. I'd like to lock him up early.
Yeah, fair enough. He's his time out though through injury is giving young Ison plenty of opportunities in New South Wales Cup, who is one of our development players. I believe might be off contract as well at this point, but I couldn't confirm those details, so that's why he's not in the list. But young Ison or Ison, a fullback from the Panthers system, a running fullback, support player fullback, maybe not one of those sweeping play type fullbacks, but is certainly doing a great job there in New South Wales Cup, playing upper grade, who is still eligible for flag. All right,
Good.
Samuel Stonestreet. There's a few fans of Stonestreet and the community. He got his opportunity for a first grade debut this year, scoring 1 try in the corner amongst friends and family, which gave us a great photo moment and highlight package. Now, he is probably lightning fast. I was going to say probably the fastest in the club, but I've got no stats to back that. It's just the eye test. He looks quick. He's chased players down. He's run away from players. And I like a team that has fast players that are able to go the length with an intercept or something. Something I feel we're kind of lacking at the moment. But that said, he is a winger, and our wingers are pretty handy at this stage. So over to you, Williams. What are your thoughts here, mate?
Keep. Absolutely keep. Obviously, Katoa and Mulitalo are great, but and Touchwood haven't had an injury of late, but they both had injuries in the past. You need that depth. He's the next man up. Keep.
Solid. Done. Okay. Can't argue with that. I think he's certainly worth keeping. He does seem to love the club as well, local junior. So I think he will be happy to bide his time, though. I don't know if we need to jump on and sign him up before November 1st, but absolutely keep.
Yep. I don't think he'd look out of place in the centres either. So if need to fill in, he could.
Yep. Brilliant. Braydon Trindall, off contract November 1st. So Braydon has certainly cemented his spot at halfback, but given little indiscretion that sat him out of the game for a few rounds, he allowed Atkinson to come in and sort of show that we do have capable backups. There was for a little period of time, the socials and various fans sort of saying maybe Atkinson should be there instead of Trindall. I'm not sure I agree. Again, looking at that age, 24, this is his first full year of NRL. Previously, he's only been off the bench or filling in. I think it's his team to do what he can with it, and probably should be sticking around given the choice between the two. But that said, can't argue with the fact that that he's got someone nipping at his heels. CK?
Yeah, I think given that, like you said, the off-field discretion, and we sort of stood by him and helped him out, I think it's not a rush to get him November 1st. Again, like I said, it's one of those things where there's not a lot of halfbacks running around the NRL, but I was quickly just going through my head as you're rattling off on his stats, who would sort of pick him up, and it's probably only a Canberra, maybe a Titans come sniffing, but obviously they've discovered Jayden Campbell can play 6, and they've got AJ Brimson. I don't think you can see Trindall moving down to Canberra anytime soon, given the reports on how fun the town is.
Might be a handy replacement for Luke Keary, mate, at your Roosters.
Yeah, it could be, but again, we saw how Robbo's pretty cutthroat on his halves, so I don't see him going there either. A bit of nepotism at the Dragon, so he couldn't see Flanagan get replaced because his son's got to play there. I think it's a wait and see. I think he'll sign and stay and be happy to stay, so I don't think it's a rush. But we want to keep him, but I'm not going to quickly get the checkbook out now. It's obviously wait till the off season.
Yeah,
Yep.
he has certainly showed that he's willing to wait and hang around the Sharks. So I think he's a bit of a keeper there, and not one that we need to sign up before November 1st, but certainly lock him up when the opportunity arrives.
I like
Peter
the fact. Sorry, Franco. I like the fact that he's got Atkinson nipping at his heels. In a way, it's bad,
Correct.
and it's a catch-22 for us because it shows other teams that Atkinson's a very a good half at NRL level, but it also keeps these guys on their feet, and we get more out of them. So it's a good problem for Fitzy to have.
Him. We don't have better at the moment, and Paul and Narelle Wilson says keep as well. So he's certainly got his fans. Speaking of Atkinson, boom. Also off contract November 1st. So again, not exactly sure. It's a scenario of need to pick one or the other. There's not much difference between them. I think there's 1 year difference there. It's certainly a scenario of Atkinson now has shown that he is capable. He might be on the radar of a few clubs as a depth player that maybe don't have as much depth as us, but considering he is the next man up, I don't know if there's many other clubs that he'd be willing to go to for a better opportunity unless it's starting. But he's certainly here, as I said, nipping at the heels of Trindall. What are your thoughts, lads?
Yeah, mate. You've got to keep him. Long term, I can see him being our starter. Maybe a few years down the track, I've got to lock him down, mate. Got to lock him down. He's shown what he can do single-handedly against Melbourne. What more do we need him to show us? He's performed, and I would not like to see him go. And I think he's more a probable fit for other teams, so I think we need to do it sooner rather than later.
An interesting stat that I haven't put up here is Atkinson has 4 dropouts to Trindall's 1.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, Atkinson, I think hopefully there's not too many people sniffing. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there was, but I would like to keep him as well. It's a bit of a keepathon at this stage, but as CK is saying, halfback playmakers, they're like hen's teeth. So if you've got one that can hold their own at first grade, you want to try and stick with them.
It's
at that age as well.
Though, Franco, like you haven't seen Trindall play by himself either, sort of without a Hines, whereas Atkinson did it. But again, it's kind of one of those recency biases, isn't it? Like he's had an absolutely stellar game against the Storm, and then you go, well, yeah, let's sign him up for 5 years, and then. But again, halves he's 23, he's young, he's nippy. See
for sure. All right, another favourite, Tukupa-Ke I'm just keep. He is going gangbusters. He's only 22. He's a man mountain. Between him and Tommy Hazelwood, I think they're going to keep people up at night. It is just a luxury, these two. I think they come onto the field and they turn a game. It might not be for long at this stage, but his motor's only going to grow as he sort of builds up that intensity and that engine for the game. What are your thoughts here, Williams?
Absolutely keep at 22, and what he's shown, and how annoyed the Roosters were to lose him a couple of years ago. Keep 1,000%. And on a side point, unfortunately, I'm going to have to bid people farewell. I've got to deal with a sick child, but all the best with the re-signing of everyone, because it looks like we are needing to, speaking of the Roosters, speak to Uncle Nick to get that salary cap sorted, because I'd like to fit a few other players in addition to all of our little superstars. But thanks, legends. I'll see you guys soon, probably with a
thanks for hanging with us, Williams. Don't end the stream, buddy.
Yeah,
don't do it to him again.
Please. Don't do it.
Leave studio, not end stream. Leave studio. Bye.
See you, mate.
See you, mate.
Yeah, I think Uncle Nick might come sniffing around. It might be one of the ones they lost, given that Wera Hargraves is retiring, and a lat sort of mentioned pre-show that Tupanua might be on the move and Crichton's going to get re-signed. So they're the only club that's sort of going to have a lot of gaps going into the off-season with somehow a lot of money given they're dropping two of their superstar centres, a half and a front row who's been there, forever. They've got a couple of $1 million up their sleeve, and who knows what to do with their number 9. So, yeah, I think it's, if he walks and goes, it'll suck, but we want to keep him.
Yeah, I think
Keep 100.
This was one of those scenarios where he re-signed earlier this year, and I think it was a bit of a surprise to a lot of people. They sort of thought, well, he hasn't been setting the world alight there in New South Wales Cup. It doesn't seem to be in the frame for a first grade call-up. Even the preseason challenge, he didn't seem to, apart from 1 or 2 hit-ups, didn't seem to get everyone excited. But then when he got that opportunity, was it round 2 or round 4? He just made everyone sit down and take notice, and I think he's certainly one that we will look to keep for a very long time. I would probably wrap him up before November 1st.
Yep, definitely.
22-year-old front rower.
If I didn't say that, my son would kill me. Favourite player. I think because he's got the word poo in his name. I don't know, but yeah.
Got Ryan here that says keep Tapuha for sure. Next man up for our forwards. And Paul and Narelle Wilson kick in and say our new Snowden and Douglas. So, yeah, I'm thinking.
I've actually got raps on him that I've got him over youy and Royce Hunt at the moment, which is kind of scary.
There
you go.
He's so young.
Upside. So young.
He's so young and doing what he's doing.
Massive. If you guys haven't seen him, go down and have a look at him in the flesh. He is a big boy.
Nearly 2 meters tall.
Yeah, he's huge. We missed
and
this
he's
one.
Always hanging around signing autographs.
Yeah, Peter Bissett kicked in and said halves are in short supply. I don't see a reason to let any walk. Atkinson has been great. So, I definitely a target to keep before November 1st, I believe. He's awesome and a good bloke. All right. Teig Wilton. Now, Teig Wilton, last time he came up to his contract renewal, was in a bit of a bidding war with a couple of other clubs. There may have been a little bit of a concern that he wouldn't hang around due to what happened to his uncle in John Morris being let go. But he did stick around. A lot of people tout him as a potential Origin star. Given that he had the, clubs chasing him last time, do we assume that will happen again, or has the last couple of years been quiet enough that there's other targets for these clubs? What do you reckon, lads?
Oh, look, you've got to keep him. He's been awesome this year, Teig. I know he's hit a little bit of an AC joint injury. He's gotten through that. As Chris said, he might be even a little smoky to play this week. The impact he's had, he's sort of taken Nikora's role on the other side of the field and doing exactly what Nikora was doing all last year. He can find the try line. He's been solid in defence, can make plenty of tackle breaks. And look, he's got 22 there. And he's had a few games out. So lock him up early.
Yep. Any thoughts, CK, on this one?
100% lock him down. It's like I said, there's a couple of clubs with some war chests still be lying around in obviously South, so I don't know what they're going to do because they've got contractors everywhere. But obviously the Dragons got a war chest, the Roosters will have a war chest. The Tigers, although they've got a lot of young kids, would love to have someone like Teig Wilton after losing Papali'i to the Panthers. So there's a lot of clubs who would like to have this. It's Nico's favourite target to his left-hand side, and surprised those tries aren't a lot higher because he must go close a lot more time. So, yeah, I'm sure the club's in negotiations with him right now.
He's another player that fits that narrative of that age. Only 24, a couple of years under his belt, big future ahead. Part of that keep the nucleus together type mentality, I believe.
Yeah.
The next one, the other big guy, Briton Nikora.
Peter Mooney, I'm coming down to have a chat with you about timelines, mate. You're killing us.
Even if you have to do the Dragons, lock him up in the basement that they've done the hunt, we've got to lock him up.
I just sign him now, sign him long term. Don't let him go anywhere. In my opinion, he's one of our best.
He's one of the best in the competition.
Yeah, he is. Don't let it get to November 1st. We've got to have him. Thoughts, CK? Lay it down on us.
Yeah, The problem is I'm now retracting everything I said earlier on every other player. These two are our priorities in Nikora and Teig Wilton. Nothing else but the checkbook thrown at these two. I'm sorry to all those other guys I said keep for sure. You're fighting for crumbs. These are our two go-to guys.
Match payments.
Because you know what? The other guys are going to be in negotiation for not just money, but also positional. Like you talk on Puru and Atkinson, Williams, Royce Hunt. How much playing time are they going to get? These are our two starting gun second rowers who every other club would love to have. These are two priority number 1 and number 2.
Yep.
And probably tied one together. It's not even a question. It's we're going to sign these two and we'll try and find cap space for everybody else because this is the priority.
These are those sort of leadership players you need in your team that the younger forwards look up to. We've been missing that since we lost Gal and Wade Graham. And you can't let players like
they're only going to get better.
I know. They are young, 24 and 26, and they're going to have these guys looking up to them and they're laying the platform for these guys coming through. And this is why our forwards are ticking so nicely. We're not trying to outdo each other, but they're just seeing what the other guys do and want to put in. And you can't let players like Teig and Nikora go.
And, we sort of loved, and everyone will love, Jason Bakura and players like that. I'd even have Nikora over Wade as more important right now. Like Wade off-field was huge. It was a big signing, come as a 5'8" and a rep player. I wouldn't put him over Luke Lewis, but Nikora, it's just one of those ones. Like you saw that, it gave us an opportunity to win that game or go to extra time the other night when he set up that try. And that's just playing out wide. At one stage, he was on the wing making a break as well. Like he's just
you can change a game.
Fast, strong as concrete. Yeah, change a game. Run that short line off Hines' right-hand side. It's just, again, it's one of those players, you go and watch him in the flesh and you run that line, it's scary. I don't know how he doesn't, and I've said this all season, he's only got 2 tries to his name. Obviously, me and Lats missed him the last time he scored one as well because it was due. But it's get the checkbook out and get you and your manager to come up with a number.
Yep, done. All right, our captain Cameron McInnes.
Waiting for Boldo to dial in here.
Mr. Moody, I'm coming for a meeting. I'm telling you, it's how you stagger your contracts, mate. Killing us.
We've done the salary cap over about 3 times.
Cameron McInnes is, as we know, I believe his own agent manager, loyal club man, loves the Sharks, happy to just do his job. I think when the Dragons were, when he was with the Dragons and his contract status was up, they were a bit wishy-washy on the scenario, and so he just said, well, I want to sign by this time. That didn't happen, and so he went and negotiated a new contract that he was happy with and joined the Sharks. I think the establishment of the Sharks is a little bit different to the Dragons previously. Yeah, I believe if we said, mate, we are going to sign you, it's going to be in January or it's going to be in February, don't worry, we're going to get you. You're the club captain. You're the backbone of the team. Stick with us. I don't think he is a priority to lock down before November 1st, but obviously he's a keeper. What do you reckon, Lats?
Mate, he's a loyal clubman and will pay you back 10 times over what you pay him in a contract. He's a player you want on your team. He's a leader. He doesn't stop putting in. He competes. He pushes it to the absolute limits, usually at the expense of his face. And you've got to lock Cam McInnes down. Any team that does not want Cam McInnes in it or is mulling over signing him is stupid, and you need to lock a player like him down of his caliber.
Yep, for sure. CK, anything before I flip through the next one?
Best things going in our favour is 1, captain, 2, the age of 30, and 3, thank you, Madge Maguire, because you probably saved us 100 to 200K.
For sure. All right. It only gets better. William Kennedy.
I'm getting exhausted. Not from the time, just from these plays you're throwing. This is emotionally exhausting. Keep, move
November
on.
1st.
No, let's move on. Move on.
Oh,
Just keep it.
contract.
Let's go.
Obviously, he is our key fullback. We're pretty skinny in that department. We've spoken about who would step up if he were to go down. It's a bunch of juniors that haven't really been tested, or people shifting from the wing to slot back there. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer that we need to hang on to him. I probably would say he's a bit of a priority before November 1st as well. That said, I would almost say he's a bit of a paired deal with Trindall. They both are very good buddies. I think if one stays, the other would like to stay. So there might be a scenario where we have that discussion and say, look, we want you, we've got Trindall, hang around, we're just sorting the books out and we'll look after you. So maybe not a November 1st priority, but certainly a keeper. What do you reckon, CK?
Scariest part about their stats is he's 23 years of age. So that is probably the scariest stat that sort of alarm bells ring for me, that he's played 3 to 4 seasons already and he's only 23 years of age. He's a mainstay in our team. I know Bolter sort of picks on him for his cover defence, but that's a whole other kettle of fish for fullbacks. If you go through the game over the last 5 or 6 weeks across the NRL, there is a logjam of young, quick, young, quick, quality fullbacks across
capable
the game. Capable fullbacks. So if someone did come knocking, it sucks. I want to keep him 1,110%. Again, he's one of the priority signings, given his age and given his mainstay of the team. Like I said, comes as a package deal, works so well in that back three. But yeah, there's a scary amount of fullbacks running around the NRL at the moment, which you think they'd get converted in the halves, but I can rattle off every club's got 3 to 4 quality. Like you look at the Knights, they got Ponga and they got 2 quality fullbacks right behind Kalen Ponga in
Fletcher Sharp and Armstrong.
And Armstrong. You got 4 fullbacks at the Titans. You saw young Kinney score a couple of tries on the weekend, but they've still got Campbell playing 6. They've got AJ Brimson to come back. You got Buller at the West Tigers, who forced Dane Laurie to go off to the Panthers, who have got Dylan Edwards. You got the Storm, who've got Pappenhausen come back, and Far Logos playing on the wing, or if not the bench. Like it's crazy scary. It's Sloan at the Dragons. The list goes on and on. So I'm not too worried about him. Someone come and knock him, because there is a lot of clubs with a lot of fullbacks on their books. But yeah, he's obviously 1,000% to stay, and sign him up soon.
Yep. All right. Good. I don't know how many of those superstar fullbacks we've got on our books though. So certainly someone.
Yeah, well, that's as much as we hate, and I go on about Origin and watered down games. At least you get to see there's a few guys can handle that sort of step up. So we might find someone who we lose a couple of our forwards and we start finding a couple of these gems to come and play along. So it works. But again, if we go to 18 or 20 teams, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, that's right. That'll expand, right? It'll explode. All right, next. Gets better. Ronaldo Mulitalo.
I do remember that, there was multiple signings a couple of years ago in the 2019-2020. So I do recall this happening in one big fell swoop and thinking, how good is this? They're all locked up. But
Williams alluded to it, where they all sort of did that brotherly agreement. We all take a bit of a pay cut. Let's all try and stick together, and we're going to do something special here at the Sharks. So yeah, it's not surprising that they're all sort of coming off for the same time. Hopefully that kind of thing is going to happen again, I suppose, and they all want to stick around. But yeah, 24. Ronaldo is up, and he's all yours. CK, tell us, what have you got?
Oh, Ronnie, mate, he's the other poster boy behind Nico. He's staying, so don't even worry about it. Lock him up again. See what he wants. I don't think he's that happy. Like you said, we've got such a happy time at the club at the moment over the last 3 or 4 seasons, even with the coach change. I don't see him moving on. I think he loves the club. He loves the area. I'm pretty sure he still overlooks Shark Park in one of those newer apartments. So I don't see him moving on.
He lives around the corner from me, mate.
Oh, there you go. He's moved. Oh, sorry, I did forget that. I did forget that. Sorry. Apologies. Maybe that was part of one of the deals he did in the apartments at the start. It's he'd break Latz's nephew's bank if he moved on to somewhere else. Sign jerseys. Check them out, guys. If you need a signed jersey or a game-worn jersey, there are a few floating around. So if you want to get your hands on one, Ronnie's all more than happy to help people out. So I don't see him moving on. Like, we make T-shirts of the guy. We make face masks of him. He's electric. He scores tries non-stop. We culled him during the Origin saga. He's playing rep footy for the Kiwis, so yeah, he's not going anywhere.
How about this for that crazy stat? He's a winger, but he's got 6 try assists and 8 line break assists.
Yeah,
there's no one outside him.
Yeah,
it's
he's
usually
got
when
pass
he
to
gets
himself
caught,
these days.
It's usually when he gets caught in that real bad tightrope situation that he actually finds someone back on the inside. Yeah. Whether it's a great pass or not, I'm not too sure. Whether it actually
usually Will Kennedy
to find a player, or he might have the little tap back on the wing and goes to a try assist. But
off the boot,
it's an interesting
off the boot,
off the boot, or off the shin. So he's quite good at it. So Ronnie's
lock him up.
Anyway, mate. Ronnie's
he's the Sharks.
Lock it down. Yeah, lock it down. Right. God, imagine doing these contracts.
Look at that. So there we are. For those playing at home, get your bingo cards out.
Them off and just
yeah.
So you have it here. We have it. The Sharks have a top 50 this year.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. We've got an A and a B team. So I think I'm not sure what problems we resolved there, or if we gave Mooney, a headache or solved his problems, but we certainly went through
a bit of education for the fans to know who's coming on and off, and it's no one's going to disagree with us.
Wow, we'll find out in the socials and in the comments down below. Let us know what you think, if we were right or wrong, or should keep someone, or you can't stand someone, they've got to go. But there's certainly a lot on the table for Mooney and Fitz to work through and get it right for not only the present time, but for the next few years. I think this is squad shaping these players. So
if we had a leagues club up and running, we'd have a lot of second jobs going for people. So it'd be help.
We got any builders in the team?
The club. Yeah, actually, most of the boys did do a off-season TAFE course over the last couple of years, doing building and carpentry. So
there you go. Get him on the job. Get him on the tools.
Get him into roofing instead.
Ryan would happily keep them all, put them under the sombrero, he says. So, CK, get onto your mate there at the Roosters. See if you can get us a sombrero.
Well, Fitzy come from the club. He knows how it works.
There you go.
That's right, exactly.
That's why it was an astute signing.
Well, that was a mammoth effort. Thank you guys for sitting through that one.